Bonjour, Dave, Alexis.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
We've gathered today on Course Épique to talk about Run Again, which will be shown at the Grand Rex on November 12th. Run Again is a film you directed, Alexis, a story featuring Dave, musician and singer of the band Archive, in search of a new breath of life at the heart of the Spine race. The toughest race in England, I guess we can say that. Brutal works as well.
Yeah.
Tough and or brutal. Thank you both so much for being here today with me. Dave, at the beginning of the film, you define yourself through 7 identities: husband, father, brother, friend, son, singer, runner. I'd like to start with the one of son. What were the pillars of your childhood in Southampton?
Yeah, my childhood was relatively normal. I think. Yeah, my parents loved music. It was constant music in the house growing up, and my dad was a runner. And we get dragged off to races and things like that. So I think somewhere there was a seed being planted that running was a good outlet. I think my dad used running as well to relieve some stress in his life, like a lot of people do. So there was lots of kind of sport in my house, sport and music. My brother played football. We used to skateboard a lot. That was our main passion growing up, was skateboarding, to be honest. Lots of music, lots of laughs. There are some few dark times with some, as families go through and things, but it was all
Football as well, right?
it was,
Of
yeah,
course.
football was very, very big. Yeah, still is. It's ever painful subject. Being a Southampton fan, but still lots of fun involved with it.
And in terms of values, what were you raised with? Values? What did your parents pay attention to?
We kind of had, to begin with, a bit of a Christian upbringing. My dad sort of suffered a bit with mental illness and was trying to find himself a bit. I think that running came in, but also a bit of faith came into his life. We kind of had not too strict, but sometimes I used to recite the Lord's Prayer before I used to go to sleep and stuff. But then my dad kind of figured out that, some of it was all a bit farcical, and said, no, we don't need to go. We don't need to go to church anymore if you believe in what you want to believe. So it kind of changed quite quickly. That's kind of the main thing I remember as sort of structure and things like. And other than that, we weren't wild or anything, but we were kind of, sort of just in a way left to kind of figure things out for ourselves a little bit. Both my parents worked really hard. Times were very different then. It was, you just find your way to school, find your way back from school, the keys left under the mat, and let yourself in and, deal with it. So that's what we would do, either put records on or watch Hollywood action movies and wait for my parents to come home from work. And that was sort of day to day. I learnt to cook at a young age to look after myself. But I have no regrets of how they were with me, so all good.
Were you someone who looked ahead in the future, or did you live in the moment at the time when you were a teenager? Were you dreaming of something that you could be, or you wanted to be, or just connected to the day after another?
No, I think when I was a teenager, a very close friend passed away, and I think that had quite a big impact on my life somewhere. It was strange, because if that was to happen now, I think there's lots of other things, like you'd probably go to counselling to talk about it, to deal with it.
You were 16 at the time, right?
Huh?
You were 16 at the time.
That's
right. It
right.
was a motor crash.
Yeah. So things kind of set a different tone for me. I think things like that. I think then I started to maybe just think, wow, life's really short, and at such a young age, I don't know if you sort of should feel that way, because it just should be the unknown. So I think it must have played a part and made me think that in my life you know, I wanted to be like a footballer, and I wanted to be an actor, and I just wanted to do something that seemed glamorous, that seemed different, and then I wanted to be a musician. You know, it was like, I don't just want to do something normal, and that's no sort of disservice to my parents and their lives, but I just had this thing in me that said, I think there's something more to strive to be and to dream of, and I don't know, I just had a desire that I wasn't going to let anybody tell me that I couldn't do it. So deep down there was always that I'm going to make something of my life, and it's going to be different to what the norm is.
Alexis, en ce qui te concerne, pour toi, ta trajectoire et tes aspirations pour ce qui est devenu la photographie, la vidéo, avant ça, il y a une étape de journalisme en Charente, si je ne me trompe pas. Est-ce que ça aussi, ça a été une vocation, un appel de l'écriture qui a été très fort et après pour une dimension plus artistique? Comment tout ça s'est construit pour toi?
Ouais, c'est vrai que je l'ai écouté et j'essayais de me revoir un petit peu dans l'adolescence. Moi aussi, j'ai grandi dans une petite ville de province, à Angoulême. Je faisais pas de skate, je faisais beaucoup de sport.
Rugby?
Ouais, du rugby, évidemment. Et c'est vrai que ouais, moi d'abord, bien avant de faire de la photo, j'ai commencé à écrire. Mon grand frère est journaliste et il m'a tout de suite intégré dans un journal, et donc en fait à 16 ans j'étais pigiste dans un journal, et le week-end j'allais faire des reportages sur les matchs de rugby, justement, de foot, etc. Et j'ai découvert par hasard que la chose que je préférais, c'était écrire. Ce que j'avais pas du tout identifié au cours de ma scolarité, et c'est quelque chose qui est resté très longtemps. Je pense même que c'est toujours le cas. L'écriture. Et en fait, peut-être je suis passé à côté du coup de ma part un peu visuelle, parce que c'est hyper tard en fait que je me suis mis à faire de la photo, ce qui est quand même mon métier, et ce qui est devenu mon métier. Et c'est arrivé un peu par hasard, de la même manière que le trail est arrivé un peu par hasard dans ma vie.
J'ai lu qu'il y avait eu un voyage en Syrie en 2009 qui avait été un tournant notamment. Je ne sais pas si ça à quoi tu fais référence.
Ouais, c'est vrai. Encore une fois, je réfléchissais en l'écoutant. Moi, ayant grandi dans une petite ville de province, une ville moyenne plutôt, comme plein de gens de mon âge, en France, je suis parti à Paris à 20 ans, quoi. Et en fait, j'ai arrêté, j'avais commencé à travailler comme journaliste, et puis en fait, j'ai pris un peu mon indépendance, et peu de temps après, j'ai planifié un espèce de... Pardon. J'ai planifié un voyage comme ça, un peu initiatique, comme on en a des fois l'idée à ces âges-là. Et donc, j'ai pris des billets pour Damas, en Syrie. Et juste avant, j'ai acheté un appareil photo. Pareil, sans vraiment l'avoir prémédité, sans trop savoir qu'est-ce que j'allais en faire. Et c'est comme ça que j'ai rencontré la photographie, en utilisant cet outil appareil photo comme une manière finalement de communiquer avec ce qui m'était étranger. Évidemment, j'avais une vingtaine d'années, c'était la première fois que je faisais un voyage tout seul, donc il y avait beaucoup de choses qui m'étaient étrangères. Et la photographie, c'est arrivé comme ça, c'est un moyen un peu de regarder des choses finalement assez éloignées de ce que je suis au quotidien. Et quelques années plus tard, quand j'ai rencontré le trail,
2013, c'est ça?
En 2013, voilà. J'accompagne mon frère, toujours le même, qui courait la diagonale des Fous, qui s'était mis à l'ultra trail. Et pareil, en fait, j'ai regardé le trail comme quelque chose d'étrange. Et voilà, et de la même manière que quelques années plus tôt, j'avais eu une sorte de un peu révélation avec la photographie dans ce voyage au Proche-Orient, et ben là il s'est passé quelque chose dans ces longues heures d'attente au cœur de l'île de la Réunion où j'ai fait mes premières photos de trail et en fait très vite ça a un peu fait basculer mon destin professionnel.
Dave, you said it. Your parents were runners too. How did you look at running before you started yourself? Was it something that sparked curiosity, something you didn't care about or even rejected? How did you look at it? And was the kind of light that your father saw through running a way for you to get you to try it and a positive experience you wanted to try?
I think more it was what was sort of funny about it is my parents, they were the kind of like the chairman and chairwoman of their local running club. So they used to organise a lot of the races and things like that. And what I more remember was sort of the community side of it, which is a bit ironic that I kind of don't belong to a running club and I literally run just for myself, no one else. But yeah, they were always so involved in the races, and then there was other runners that were really fast, or then there'd be runners that were trying to lose weight or were getting into running to help them with their health kind of thing. And I remember that quite strongly, that they'd always have club night was Thursday nights, and they'd always go for a drink after the run, and I'd always go to that and have a soft drink and sort of sit in the corner, and just look at all these people in their blue Southampton Roadrunners t-shirts. And but then I remember my dad sort of going to events, like going to Chicago, going to New York, going to Snowdonia, which we never went, we weren't allowed to go. But I remember thinking that was kind of cool that he was into something that was... I did go to Chicago, actually. And I just remember, again, not thinking, I want to do this, but sort of being there and just seeing all these people involved in this sport, I think, and the London Marathon as well. But there was some times where, as a teenager, I'd be a bit like, have we got to go? And, I once snuck out from... I had an argument with my mum, and she's like, you can wait in the car. But I snuck out of the car because I really wanted to see if my dad had got his sub 3-hour marathon he was trying to do.
And he did it, right?
He did do it, yeah, which is pretty cool. So it never really... I did one race with him. There was like I can't remember where it was, but it was actually through like a forest. And I remember I did it with a friend, and my dad had finished. I remember I could see him the whole way, like as I was running, I could see him. So then he finished, and I finished quickly after him, and he didn't realise I'd finished. So he was saying to my mum, let's go watch Dave come over to the finish line. And she's like, he's already finished, he's there. And he was like, wow, you were really quick. So I remember that was a nice little memory. But yeah, I didn't run for my school or anything like that. But the strange thing is, actually thinking now, my friends always used to say, Dave, you run everywhere. If we'd finish a play date or a game of football, I would then run home, but it was only because it was getting dark and I was kind of scared of the woods. And my friends were always like, why don't you ever just walk? I know, I remember it. They were like, I'd run to the shop. I'd run to a friend's house. So that's kind of a bit weird thinking about that. But yeah.
On your very first run, you stopped halfway, feeling sick, but then you went back out.
Yes.
Do you think that the run again begins there, and in that alley, the moment that you realize that you are someone that will always come back?
I think I'm quite a stubborn person. Yeah, I'm very determined, and if I set out to do something, I'm definitely someone who wants to see it through. I don't like leaving things half finished. I'm like that with writing as well, with songs. I'd rather it be finished and the song be crap, but at least it's finished. It's not, you didn't finish it, It's like, I'm always someone who's like, just get it done and then move on to the next thing, because you can always start again. So yeah, I was always gonna sort of once I got a taste for it and would see distance, and I'd think, right, how long is that going to take me? And back then, you know, when I was a bit younger, I started running. I was like, how fast can I do that? How quickly can I do 6 miles? How quickly can I run 10 miles? So yeah, I'm always someone that, I don't like to quit at all. I like to see things through, for sure.
What do you remember for your first trail running experience? Was it a sense of calm and mental freedom compared to maybe the chaos around or maybe within yourself?
It was exactly that. Because when you sort of, I live in the city, so when you start running, you naturally just run the streets where you are, and then you look for a race, and it's a road race, with lots of people. And I'd done a few, and I remember doing one, and there was just so many people, and I remember coming to the finish line, or like about 100 meters, and so many people just barging past, obviously trying to get PBs or having a burst of energy, and I got sort of knocked by someone sprinting through, and it was just like, this is insane, this is mental. And I remember just seeing like people drinking the plastic bottles and just chucking them, and I could sort of see it all, and I was a bit like, wow, it's really manic, but I still did it. And then I saw a race called the Heartbreaker. It was 14 miles, and it was in the New Forest. And at the time, any race that came up close to me, I would just sign up. So I saw that and thought, I'll enter that. And turned up, and there was only, like about 40 people there. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. There's like nobody here. And it was kind of autumnal, but it was a bit misty. And I just remember the air was so different. I could really breathe, and it went through the woods, and it was a couple of laps. But I was just like, wow, this is just, and it's so different underfoot, and there was like nature and trees, and that was it. I said to my dad after, I was like, that's the best race I've ever done. I've got to find more of them. And then did my research and found out there was another whole world waiting to be explored.
Alexis, toi, ton rapport en termes de pratique à la course à pied, le trail, aujourd'hui, ou plutôt est-ce que tu as beaucoup pratiqué? Et puis au-delà de ça, avec ton regard plus de photographe, la façon dont tu as évolué, la discipline, quel regard tu portes sur celle que tu as connue en 2013 quand tu as commencé, puis ce qu'elle est devenue aujourd'hui et ce qu'elle aspire à devenir? Comment est-ce que tu regardes ça?
C'est vrai que quand j'ai découvert le trail, je courais pas du tout. J'avais aucune connaissance de ce sport, à part par la petite fenêtre ouverte par mon frère qui avait commencé à courir et dont j'avais un peu écouté évidemment les histoires, et donc il y avait des choses qui commençaient un peu à être familières, mais j'avais aucune connaissance des visages, de l'histoire, des courses de ce sport qui, quand même en 2013 était encore dans une phase un peu d'essor, et donc c'était évidemment assez différent d'aujourd'hui. Et à l'époque, j'avoue que la course à pied, c'était quelque chose que j'avais toujours tenu pas mal à distance de moi, même si pratiquant pas mal de sports collectifs, on court quand on fait du rugby, quand on fait du foot. Je faisais à l'époque, je faisais encore beaucoup de foot. Mais c'est vrai que la course à pied, même quand j'ai commencé à travailler un petit peu entre elles, j'allais courir de plus en plus quand j'étais en montagne, quand je travaillais, mais c'est vrai que pendant toutes ces années, et je continue, je vis à Paris, et c'est vrai que de retour à Paris, j'avais finalement assez peu envie d'aller courir. Ça a mis plusieurs années à être une chose que j'ai commencé à faire après, quasiment quotidiennement, pendant maintenant, jusqu'à il y a quelques mois, parce que je viens d'avoir une petite fille. Et alors là, vraiment, c'est comme une blessure. Enfin, c'est pas du tout une blessure d'avoir une petite fille, mais en tout cas, je cours plus du tout. J'ai pas du tout le temps. Mais en revanche, ces dernières années, c'est vrai que je me suis mis à courir. J'habite pas très loin de la Seine, et donc du coup, je fais des boucles le long de la Seine et le long de la Marne. Et puis, dès que j'ai l'occasion d'aller avec mon travail au contact de beaux paysages, j'aime bien me balader et courir. Voilà, pratiquer ce sport-là, j'ai en revanche très très peu d'appels pour la compétition, les courses, les dossards. En fait, c'est pas que j'ai très peu d'appels, mais j'ai aussi tellement l'occasion de vivre ces courses-là dans un autre rôle que je pense que si j'avais envie de participer à des courses, ça serait des courses finalement extrêmement confidentielles, des petites courses un peu perdues ou des choses j'ai pas l'espèce de comme ça de motivation de me dire je vais faire l'UTMB, je vais faire comme ça des grands monuments, la Diagonale des Fous, des choses comme ça. Et non, pour répondre à la deuxième partie de ta question sur ce sport qui évolue, moi, il n'y a rien qui m'étonne trop dans l'évolution dont j'ai été un peu témoin depuis une douzaine d'années. Pourquoi ça ne m'étonne pas? Déjà parce que c'est un sport très jeune, et donc évidemment il évolue beaucoup, plus vite qu'un sport institué qui n'est pas aussi peu stable que peut l'être le trail, dans lequel on le voit bien, il y a des nouveaux circuits, il y a une évolution à la fois des organisations, de tous les acteurs économiques un peu qui essaient de trouver une place dans ce sport qui est non seulement jeune, mais il est aussi en grande croissance. Donc moi, j'ai jamais été trop surpris de voir un peu comment le sport évolue. J'ai eu la chance de beaucoup voyager et de voir beaucoup des nuances aussi de ce sport. Et clairement, j'aime beaucoup les courses et l'Angleterre, par exemple l'Angleterre du trail. Ça, c'est quelque chose que je trouve vraiment assez intéressant, et ça fait aussi partie des choses qui ont trouvé écho pour moi quand ce projet il a commencé à naître et à se dessiner. Il y avait ce pays qui a une culture de la course à pied en montagne extrêmement ancienne, le fell running, qui est, je pense, on peut le dire, l'ancêtre du trail running. C'est une pratique de courir les collines et les monts anglais, d'atteindre un sommet, de redescendre. C'est quelque chose dont il y a des traces à travers le Moyen-Âge et qui existe aussi de manière instituée comme course, parfois depuis plus de 150 ans dans certains coins du nord de l'Angleterre, qui sont d'ailleurs le paysage de la Spine Race aussi. La Spine Race, c'est une course qui va comme ça. Peut-être que là, j'enjambe un petit peu les questions, mais voilà, la Spine Race, c'est une course en Angleterre qui commence pas très loin de régions comme par exemple le Lake District, qui sont des régions historiques du fell running, et aussi aujourd'hui de sa mise à jour un peu qu'on appelle le trail. C'est vrai qu'en Angleterre, il y a une culture comme ça qui est extrêmement belle, et quand je réfléchis aussi à l'évolution de ce sport, je regarde un peu en Angleterre où continue d'exister en fait la forme un peu traditionnelle du fell running, avec des gens qui sont habillés avec des maillots de club. Ça ressemble un petit peu à la saison de cross, sauf que c'est un peu tous les week-ends, un peu partout en Angleterre. La chose qui est assez belle et qui, là, pour le coup, me fait réfléchir un petit peu à l'évolution du trail, notamment en France, c'est que le fell running, ça coûte quasiment rien. Les frais d'inscription, c'est quelques livres, 8 livres, 10 livres. Et ça, je pense que c'est quelque chose qui, à mon avis, interroge beaucoup. C'est l'accessibilité aussi du sport. Et voilà, je me suis un peu perdu.
Non, c'est très intéressant.
Mais c'est vrai que Pour revenir aussi à Dave, même si lui, par exemple, fait le running, c'est pas quelque chose qu'il a pratiqué. Là, en Angleterre, il y a une culture assez intéressante quand même de ces sports-là. Et la Spine Race, qui est une course finalement assez récente, qui a une douzaine d'années, elle vient aussi trouver écho dans un pays qui a une vraie culture de ce sport et de ses pratiques d'endurance aussi et de déplacement sur les sentiers.
Dave, you naturally turn toward long and difficult efforts. You once said, I need that quest, it has to cause pain. We can hear it in the movie Run Again. Why is pain such an essential part of the journey? Is pushing the body the best way for you to truly free your mind? Is it the first step?
I think so. I think, when you're involved in something as sort of arduous as that and as long, I think it's the pain that, kind of makes you realise what it is you're doing in a way. If there wasn't any pain, then it wouldn't be a challenge. The pain's not only in your body, but it's in your mind as well. It takes you to places that I don't know how else, in my life, how else I could feel that way. Emotional pain is something that we all go through, and physical pain is normally if you hurt yourself quickly or you do something, I don't know, maybe as well, like being younger and being a skateboarder, Christ, the amount of times I hurt myself doing that, like awful injuries in areas that, oh God, to think about it now, but just get up and try the trick again, keep trying again, just that determination. But
were you seeking for it in a way, that pain?
Maybe I am. Maybe. I've never really delved into why I'm looking for that pain, because for a few years I don't think I did. I think there was saying that, I suppose maybe like smoking loads of pot for about 8 years, maybe that was kind of that version of blanking everything out and just, sort of living in a bit of a bubble for a while. And then when I quit that, everything becomes right there and then. There's no masking, there's no, it's not quite real, everything is right there, and that's kind of what happened with the music. Is I wanted to as well just not be stoned on stage. I wanted to do everything with nothing in my body, completely free and clear. And then with the running as well, it's very much like that. And from that is you can feel everything. You can sometimes feel every little stone under your feet. It feels like you can feel every jolt. And sometimes it's horrendous. It's so awful, but it doesn't last. It's only temporary. And when it goes away, you're still moving and you feel like, oh, well, I got through it, and sometimes that strange thing of, right, how do I look, how do I feel, and there's something strangely amazing about trying to lift your legs out of the bed the following day after a huge race and slowly moving, and you feel your body coming back to life. It's a real privilege to be able to do that, because some people, can't do that or will never experience that. And I'm really using my body, and I'm in tune with it, and I know how far it can go and how it heals, and what a great thing to be able to experience, I think.
Do you feel most in control when you're going on stage or at the start line of an ultra? Or none of them, maybe?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. They're kind of similar in a way, because when we go on stage, we've rehearsed. When you start a race, you've trained, but you're not quite sure what's gonna happen. Again, you have a set list of songs, you have a list of checkpoints, you have a distance you have to get to the end of a gig, but there's always moments within it that maybe take you somewhere where you weren't sure where you were going to. You get lost in the sound or sing something a bit differently, or you see someone in the crowd or you feel the energy from the crowd is different. But and yeah, I like to lose control on stage. I like to really lose myself in the moment. I wouldn't want to do something that's so regimented every time. I like to really push myself and almost kind of not throw myself around, but certain songs my kids think I'm the worst dancer in the world. So I'm trying to practice my moves. So, but I like to kind of contort myself on stage, so I'm not in control at all. And then on a race, you think you're in control, but when you take something on like an ultra, that one slip and one ankle twist, your race could be done. You think I'm going to be there by this time, so it will still be light, and then you realise you're there, and it's like, oh shit, I've got to go through this bit in the night, or it's absolutely pouring with rain. Yeah, you can't go into an ultra thinking I'm completely in control of this. I think you have to give yourself to the races and let them kind of guide you, and don't be you can stay strict with how you want to do things, but I like to kind of embrace the whole thing. And after a while I'm like, okay, well, I'm in this, let it immerse me, and let's see where we go with it, because that's part of the fun of it, I think.
Yeah, the fact to embrace it is one of the reasons you to explain that you succeeded in the spine race that time.
Yeah.
You didn't fight against or try to...
I've had races where I've tried to fight it, and, I've sworn at the races, and it's like, hated it, screamed at, the weather, and then you kind of learn, you sort of understand, but you kind of mature in these things when you do trail race after trail race. And I think I've learned a lot, and the easier it is, like, whenever I set myself goals, I normally don't quite reach them, as in I want to do this race under 24 hours or something, which my next race, I really want to do it under 24 hours. And the other day I was like, why are you thinking this? Just do the race. So it's, once you get into it, the more you embrace it, the easier it is. It's like, I'm not competing to win any of these races. I can't imagine what that mindset is like. It's incredible. But I'm there for like the journey of the immersiveness of it all, and totally embracing the race is what it's about for me.
Alexis, j'aimerais bien que tu nous parles de deux rencontres avec Dave. La première, c'était il y a 20 ans. Tu étais dans le public, tu as été voir Archive sur scène, donc ton rapport au groupe à ce moment-là dans ta vie. Et puis ensuite, comment est plus particulièrement émergé ce projet, cette rencontre qui est à l'initiative?
T'es très bien renseigné. À l'été 2006, donc j'avais 20 ans, à Angoulême. Je reviens à Angoulême. Il y avait un gros festival qui s'organisait à l'époque, et il y avait Archive qui est venu jouer un concert que j'aurais manqué pour rien au monde. C'était un groupe que j'ai écouté pendant mon adolescence, un de mes frères qui avait les premiers albums, et voilà, c'est une musique qui m'accompagnait vraiment à l'époque beaucoup. Et donc ce concert en 2006, j'ai réalisé en fait un peu après coup que c'était la première tournée auquel Dave participait comme chanteur. Un peu pour expliquer aux gens, Archive c'est un groupe qui, je pense, a dû être fondé en 95, et en fait Dave, lui, il a intégré ce groupe, ce collectif, en 2006. Donc Archive, voilà, il y a deux cofondateurs qui sont sur scène et qui ont eu des générations un peu de chanteurs qui participent, et voilà, depuis 20 ans, Dave, il est ce chanteur-là. Et donc je l'ai vu à cette époque-là. Et puis une quinzaine d'années plus tard, j'ai découvert que Dave participait à l'UTMB. Et d'ailleurs à l'époque, il y avait eu quelques petits journaux qui avaient parlé en disant le chanteur d'Archive fait de l'ultra trail, et donc moi j'avais vu ça. J'avais dit il faut que je le rencontre. Et donc 2019, UTMB 2019. Je lui envoie un message. En fait, c'est un ultra-trailer. C'était déjà un ultra-trailer, donc en fait, il connaissait un petit peu mon travail. On se rencontre à l'UTMB. Pour la petite histoire, il y a une journaliste que je connais bien, Patricia Audi, qui elle aussi, ce jour-là, quelques jours avant l'UTMB, rencontre aussi Dave pour un reportage pour un magazine. Et donc voilà, je me souviens très bien de récupérer Dave, de faire la route avec lui, l'amener à son hôtel à Saint-Gervais. Dans ma voiture, j'avais un CD, j'avais encore un CD en 2019 dans ma voiture. J'avais un CD d'archive, et donc j'étais là très fier et tout. Et donc cette année-là, moi je faisais un petit film pour Strava, et l'angle c'était l'UTMB la nuit. Et donc immédiatement j'ai proposé à Dave d'intégrer un peu cette histoire-là, et donc c'est un des personnages de ce film. Il y a aussi Cathy Scheid, voilà, c'est un film un petit peu hétéroclite qui raconte l'UTMB sous l'angle de la nuit. Et en fait, c'était un peu parfait d'avoir un chanteur dont la vie, a priori, est assez nocturne. Et à partir de là, on est resté en contact. Quelques mois après, moi, je suis allé faire des photos de 2 concerts d'archive. Ils étaient en tournée, c'était la grande tournée des 25 ans. Voilà, c'était des très beaux concerts, un concert à Marseille, un concert à Lyon. J'ai eu l'occasion du coup de rencontrer aussi un peu les autres membres du groupe. Et puis en fait, c'était aussi une expérience pour moi assez marquante de faire des photos comme ça du groupe en concert avec eux. Et on est resté en contact. Et évidemment, 2019, on arrive très vite sur un moment qu'on connaît tous, c'est la parenthèse du Covid, dont Dave parle pas mal pour ce qui est de sa propre expérience dans le film.
Il a dû reprendre le travail d'électricien pendant quelques années. Comme Archive ne pouvait plus tourner. Ouais.
Et voilà, et le groupe ne pouvait plus jouer pendant de longues années. Et donc nous, je me souviens très bien aussi pendant le Covid, d'échanges de messages entre nous. On avait un peu des projets de peut-être faire un clip, faire quelque chose. On avait des idées, on imaginait des choses. Et puis on a continué un peu à avoir ces discussions-là. Patricia aussi, que j'ai mentionné tout à l'heure, était aussi restée dans cette boucle-là de réfléchir à qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait un jour imaginer avec Dave. Et la spine est apparue dans le paysage comme une évidence. C'était une envie de Dave de participer à cette course qui est voilà, un essai de grande montée vers le nord de l'Angleterre de 268 miles en plein hiver. Moi, j'avoue que en tant que photographe et réalisateur, c'était visuellement quelque chose qui m'attirait beaucoup. Et immédiatement aussi, il y avait une forme d'évidence de la compatibilité de ce paysage avec la musique d'Archive. Voilà, pour les gens qui n'ont jamais écouté Archive, c'est ce qu'on appelle du rock progressif. Moi, le tout premier concert dont on parlait tout à l'heure à Angoulême, c'était à l'époque d'un album qui s'appelait Lights. L'intro, c'était une 20aine de minutes. Les membres du groupe arrivaient les uns après les autres sur scène. Ça m'avait à l'époque vraiment impressionné. Et voilà, c'est une musique comme ça que j'ai toujours trouvé très cinématographique. Et il y avait une évidence pour moi à me dire que en fait, la Spine Race, cette espèce de marche un peu polaire comme ça dans dans un peu le vide de l'Angleterre rurale et un peu montagneuse, et ça allait être voilà, un peu le décor parfait de cette musique. Et lui, l'ayant rencontré, ayant déjà un peu découvert qui il était, entendu sa voix à la fois sur scène, mais aussi sa voix, comme là vous pouvez l'entendre, sa manière de parler, sa manière de voir les choses. Ça a été une évidence pour moi et Patricia aussi du coup que c'était là des choses qu'il fallait faire, qu'il fallait entrelacer.
Ce qui est très singulier dans le film, justement, dans la démarche, j'allais te demander comment toi tu voulais l'aborder par rapport au reste de ton travail. C'est vrai que l'entrelacement, c'est ce qui guide finalement entre la musique, entre l'ultra trail, entre le jour, la nuit, entre la scène, la course, le confort, la rudesse. Il y a des oppositions constantes. C'est ça la gymnastique que tu as voulu mettre en place.
Ouais, c'est sûr que l'architecture du film, c'est un entrelac comme ça de différents mondes, d'univers. Évidemment, de manière un peu basique, le monde de la musique et le monde du trail, de la course. Mais voilà, de manière un peu plus détaillée, des formes de silence avec évidemment des formes de bruit, de musique, de foule, certaines lenteurs. 268 miles, 430 km. C'est une course, la Spine, que Dave a fait en environ 6 jours et 6 nuits. Donc il y a une forme comme ça de lenteur et je trouve que ça c'est quelque chose qui vient s'entrechoquer avec la musique, avec les concerts. On a filmé pendant 2 semaines une tournée d'archives dans le film et c'est vrai que moi je trouvais ça assez intéressant de faire jouer un petit peu à la fois le parallèle et le va-et-vient entre ces mondes-là, qui sont aussi la circulation à l'intérieur même de Dave. Tu commençais en parlant un peu de son mantra, qui est une manière un petit peu de présenter les différents morceaux de sa personnalité, ou plus un peu des rôles sociaux et de ce que finalement on a en chacun de nous. C'est-à-dire on est tous plein de choses un peu différentes. Et on essaye par moments à la fois de réunir les parts de nous-mêmes et à d'autres moments on essaie d'entretenir les branches différentes qui nous composent. Et en fait il y avait quelque chose avec Dave, moi, qui m'a intéressé beaucoup sur ces questions-là.
Dave, what did you want that film to be, and that when you first discuss with Alexis and bring it to life, what was your feeling about it? And what could it not be, and what should it be?
Well, I think to begin with, I think we didn't know it was going to be as big as in the story, because we discussed it prior to COVID. So originally, I just thought it would be a kind of shortish, like 20 minutes maybe, kind of documentary just about me on the spine. And then as time went on and all the things that happened, it was so organic in the way that it felt like the story just kept coming to us. So because I did the race still during COVID, and I DNF'd
2022.
Yeah, and it makes me think that what if I had finished, I don't even know if the film would have been made. Maybe I would have said, well, I'm not doing it again. It's done. We'll have to find someone else. I don't know. It's, but the fact I didn't kind of gave it another whole challenge for me. I was going to go back and get it done. And then with what happened with Darius and his cancer, and then the band not being able to play for 4 years, I didn't have any expectations, because it was kind of Alexis, it was his vision. I just went along with it. I was like, I just did what I would have been doing anyway, you know what I mean? And the fact that his vision, I knew how cool his eye is for things. So I had total faith in what he was thinking in his head. So that's what I like about it, is it wasn't overly like scripted. It wasn't planned to come out like this. It's just how time let it be. It's like time just made it. So yeah, I honestly didn't want to be perceived in a certain way. I just was myself. That's what I think is quite cool about the film. Is it's very real. There's not anybody trying to pretend or be something they're not. What you see is what you get, and I think that's why it's very appealing. I'd like to think it's appealing, and also for a band like Archive, some of our fans, they've met us and they know us a bit, but for the majority, no one gets to see what's happening backstage. We're quite a private kind of group of people. We just let the music do the talking. That's our sort of, ethos with it. And what Alexis captured that way, it was so beautiful in, the juxtaposition between all the chaos and the noise to then the absolute silence and the wilderness. I've never seen a film like it, personally. And I think that's what makes it so unique, but it's also the people within it. Like I say, the people are very unique because they are who they are, and I'm very honoured to be, that he wanted to capture so much of me, which God knows why, but it's So again, I didn't have a thing where it's got to be like this. I trusted that what he was gonna do was gonna be cool.
And did you embrace Alexis' presence on the race at every moment? And how tough was it for you, Alexis, to be at the right place at the right moment, because it's a very intimate by default, an ultra experience. So how did you balance? Did you get to connect with each other and get to know what the other think?
Yeah, kind of. But with the spine's like so strict. They don't let you take anything. They don't want you having any pointers or help, which is what makes it what it is. So when we did see them, we didn't talk really, did we? There was no kind of, can you do that again? Especially there were no retakes. Like, no, that's not happening.
Could you please fall again?
There was a couple of bits I remember. There's I think it was day 3 maybe, when we came round and the waterfall was all frozen. And I think there was lots of people telling me I was going the wrong way. So everybody was kind of shouting because it was so slippery and it was so dangerous. And I do think I remember you just being like, that way, don't go that way. That's really dangerous. You're probably going to die. But I think the marshals were the same. They were like, that way, don't go up that bit. But no, there was, like I say, it's very disciplined and strict race. So there's a few times we would see the drone, and that was kind of quite mad, knowing that they were around. But what got me as well was how fit Alexis has to be, and Julianne as well, with the running backwards. I think nothing worse, running backwards on the Pennine Way. It's just in the snow. It's just so awful. And I think there was only one fall from, I don't know if you fell. I know Julianne fell once. And then I fell once, amazingly, on that race. I don't know how. So yeah, but I think there was a nice moment actually where you were in the cafe and I didn't know. And I was coming and I looked in the window and they were all having breakfast in the cafe, and hi, hi. That was quite a nice little moment. But yeah, it was. They were very discreet. They had to be. I think that was part of why the race, because again, the race, they don't let many people. Oh, I want to film this. They'd be like, so what? It's not happening. But I think because of Alexis' background and how professional he is and the work he's done prior, I'd like to think that when people that are linked to the Spine race, the organisers as well, would know what an amazing job he's done and made that race, if anything, so appealing to any trail runner. Would just be like, I want to do that race now. So, and that's what it's kind of part of it's about as well. So yeah.
During the race, Dave, you keep repeating, I'm a husband, I'm a father, a brother, a friend, a singer, a runner. Do the weight of and meaning of each of those roles shift as the race goes on? Are you never quite the same Dave from the moment to the next? Is it never changing?
Yeah, I think you go through so many different emotions on a race like that. But that kind of mantra that I have, that I still have, just keeps bringing me back to the fact I'm here, you know, like I'm in that moment, but I wouldn't be in that moment without all those kind of key elements that make me. The fact, you know, a lot of, you know, especially halfway through races or when races start to really pinch and they start to hurt, you know, I think about, that I am a father, that I think of my kids and I see their faces in my head, and then it's just like, you know, wow, I can't wait to see them when I finish the race. Or, you know, I think of my wife, and she's at home dealing with the everyday, day-to-day shit that we have to do whilst I'm out there semi-enjoying myself. But and I just think of how amazing she is and how strong she is, you know, and then I think of the fact that, like in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to be with the guys and we're going to be on stage. All the things that, like I say, just make my life what it is, I take with me when I do a race, and they run through my head. And I don't know how it happened. It just started. I just had to get through. I don't remember which race it was, and I would just say it, and then I would just say it, and then I would just say it, and then I have a thing before I go on stage as well, where I see everybody, and then I have this really strange carousel, and it kind of spins, and I see so many of the people I love and my friends, and they're all there really quickly, and then they kind of spin and it goes up, and then I'm ready to go on stage. And I like to think I'm taking everybody with me, you know, like inside and in my mind, they're all there. So, yeah.
And where does that conviction come from that you will finish that race? That certainty? Where did you?
Again, I think it's just stubbornness. It's just a drive that I sign up for something. I want to get it done, or else it's not a waste of time, but it's like there has to be a point, and the point of what a race is, you know, is start to finish. That's it, you know, like anything. Like, so I'm always like, just you know, it's that old cliche of one foot in front of the other. It does come into play at certain times, but what I'm starting to kind of enjoy, or trying to, is now I'm getting a bit older. I'm actually, because before I would train, but I wouldn't sort of really get into the logistics of training, where I'm actually starting to now. I'm actually really trying to make myself stronger, because I've found that on races, the last race I did, I was fine up until around mile 80, and then it was so hard. The last about 25 miles, it was 105 miles, I think. And I literally just had nothing left. And people were like, well, what do you expect? This is like, Christ, that's normal. But I know that I can go a bit further. So I'm actually I'm on a training program for the first time in my life. And I'm kind of enjoying it. But again, I like the discipline of it. I like the structure of, if you do this, then I can see what's different on my next race. So I'm starting to take things maybe a little bit serious, a little bit, but again, I could get out there and be at mile 20 and be like, oh Christ, everything hurts, let's just get through it, and then I'll just keep going.
In the film, you said it was okay to cry, it was okay to be in pain. Is that something that you don't usually allow yourself elsewhere?
No, I don't. I think I was quite emotional as a kid, but yeah, I don't tend to
hide anything.
Yeah, no, I'm quite a open person, but I wouldn't say I cry that much. I only cry if I'm like really exhausted, or when I'm on tour. Sometimes when you're really into a tour, and then you have a day off and you get to your hotel and you just have to let it out, you know. I think it's more like when you're on races, you are very exhausted, and your emotions can just kind of break very easily. So I think on a race like the Spine, I think most people probably cry at some point or another. Well, I certainly did. But it was good. It's just that extra release, you know, like kind of like crying sometimes, all the things you can't say or get out. So as soon as you kind of let that release out and you cry, you kind of you feel lighter afterwards. You can sort of take a breath and okay, I compose myself again and I'm ready to go. So yeah, but I'm also someone who's not that, you know, not afraid to talk about their emotions. I think in this modern world, and coming from a family with a father that suffered mental illness and had to learn to talk about how he was feeling, and he's always said, if you've got anything on your mind, so you can always talk to me about it, blah blah. And he said that as we were kids, and I think that's been an amazing thing for a dad to say to their son, is something like that. And that's gone through me, and I've had friends where it's like, you know, that, yeah, if you've got shit on your mind, let's just talk about it, because, you know, things can go horribly wrong if you don't get shit off your mind. So yeah, no, I think talking about stuff is very, very important, and getting it out there and being that way.
Were you overcome at the end by nostalgia, kind of nostalgia, or more relief when you were about to arrive at the finish line?
Yeah, I don't think by the time you finish sort of any kind of big ultra, I don't think you're quite ready to reflect on it. It is relief of, wow, it's one, look how far I've come, look what I've done. But yeah, it's that, oh, thank God, thank God I don't have to keep moving. I can sit down and not have to get back up. I can just eat what I want. I can have a beer now. I can chill, and I can really feel good about what I've just achieved for myself. You know, that's why I do it. I do it for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. It's so yeah, and it's like, yeah, I set out to do it.
And I'll be back next year moment arrives the next day. In general.
Some races maybe a couple of days later, yeah. But yeah, that always comes a knocking. You think, oh, I'm done now. I don't need to do any more. And it's, yeah, sure as hell. Knock knock. Oh look. Oh yeah, I'll just press enter. There we go.
Alexis, dernière question pour toi. Le film s'arrête pas sur l'arrivée, la célébration, sans tout dévoiler parce que je pense que c'est aussi l'intérêt du film. Pourquoi ce choix-là?
Pourquoi ce choix-là? Parce que quand on imagine un film, il y a les choses qu'on maîtrise, les choses qu'on sait mettre à l'intérieur et qu'on a envie de, comme je disais tout à l'heure, d'entrelacer, d'entrechoquer, de faire se rencontrer. Et donc là, on savait, on allait mettre la Spain, on allait mettre la musique, on allait mettre Dave, on allait mettre Archive, on allait mettre Southampton, on allait mettre l'Angleterre, on allait mettre les relations d'amitié entre les membres du groupe, on allait mettre ses parents, on allait mettre son épouse Nikki, ses enfants, et voilà, toutes ces choses-là. Et ben, y a toujours aussi des choses qui nous surprennent, et une des plus belles choses finalement qui est arrivée à ce film, je crois, c'est à un moment donné d'avoir un personnage comme ça qu'on n'avait pas du tout prévu, qui s'invite, et je pense que ça a donné une sorte de magie un peu différente à la suite, et donc c'est aussi pour ça que le film il finit pas exactement contre le mur de l'auberge qui est la ligne d'arrivée de la Spain Race, parce que voilà, il y a un personnage qu'on n'avait pas imaginé rencontrer, et qui permet en fait de mettre une lumière différente sur un peu tout le reste. Et voilà, c'est vrai que là je dévoile sans dévoiler, mais je crois que ça répond.
Dernière question en une phrase. What's the most beautiful thing someone could say about the film, just in one sentence? Alexis, tu as quelque chose?
Yeah. Wow.
Ce que tu aimerais qu'on t'en dise?
Yeah. I've never seen anything like that. That's for me. That I'd like people to think they've never seen a film like that before. So unique.
Et moi je dirais, on pensait voir un film de sport et de musique, et on a vu un film sur l'amitié.
Merci messieurs. Dave, I can confirm I've never seen a film like that. It was such an exceptional moment. Congrats to both of you for for the great work. I didn't see the 66 minutes. I was with you on the spot and on our personal journey, and so many moments of poetry, both visually and then by the words that you say. So thanks for the great work. And I'd like to invite all the listeners to come here and join for the screening of Run Again here in Paris on November 12th at the Grand Rex in Paris, an event that will open with the film Face Auteur featuring François Daen. So see you there, of course. Thanks again for your precious time and this great moment, and congrats again. This movie is, I wrote it to Alexis 2 days ago, just after viewing it, and it's exceptional movie, very different and singular. So congrats again for the great work, and see you soon on the Spine Race or another ultra.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.